Fix this too. Welcome to the Sean Geek and Fast Red podcast with me, your host, Sean Geek, and that guy.
Best friend.
How you doing, Todd?
Well, it's early in the morning, so I have my early morning voice.
Not the sexy voice, not the Pete the Cat voice.
Oh, the Sunday after the Saturday night voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
What were you doing last night?
We were watching UFC actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was a pretty good. It was pretty good. Yeah. Yeah.
Late night.
Not too bad. Went out and bought an air fryer yesterday.
Thought you had one.
We had a small white one that Donda had when we met, but it was kind of, it was old and gross. It didn't really work that great. So went and got up one of those Tefal. It's a Tefal one. And it's pretty cool because it's got, when you put the oil in, when you're done with it, you turn the switch all the way to the right. And then once it cools down, there's a sensor, and then it dumps the oil into a container that's underneath it and filters it through.
Really?
Yeah, like how many times if anybody has ever deep fried before and they reuse the oil, there's always little bits and shit in there that
Oh, yeah, there is.
just gets reheated and reheated. After a while, it gets kind of rank, I guess.
Yep.
But with this, it takes, yeah, I looked at it and the oil looks clean. And it's got like a filter, those at the dollar store, you can buy those little strainers you can put on your in your sink and stuff. It's kind of it's kind of reverse. It's like a dome type of filter, and then it just filters out all the hard chunks and stuff. So yeah, so we actually made not egg rolls. What are they? Lumpia or spring rolls, I guess.
Oh, spring rolls. Spring rolls, yeah.
Yeah. So we saw this recipe on one of those TikTok things or whatever that showed up, and we said, "Hey, you know what? Let's try that," because we've tried them from all these different places in town, and Hoffman's is the only place that the ones that we really like, and there's something about it, and we weren't too sure what it was. So doing the whole recipe, there's one point where they have ginger, but it's like half a teaspoon for about 2 pounds of pork.
Right.
So it's just enough to screw with your brain, but not enough to make, it's more of I guess more of a scent thing. Not that I can tell, but it tastes more like the Hoffman ones, which is the ones we like. So yeah. So we made a batch of that, threw it in the deep fryer, and wow, awesome. Then we figured, hey, well, let's try, once you get on a roll, right?
Once you get on a roll, the spring.
Yeah. Why don't we get some fries and try it out? So we did that, threw that in.
Wait, what kind of fries did you put in?
Their McCain's are like a crinkle fry.
Okay, yep.
Now, the thing is, when it comes with fries, they get like the fast fries and the regular fries. I don't know what these are, but
there's the skinny ones, there's kind of the medium ones, and then there's the fat ones.
Yeah, these are kind of like a medium crinkle. So we put them in, close the thing because they're frozen and there's water in them. So the oil kind of does its little pop and snap and spits and stuff. So as soon as we kind of lower it in slowly, put the cover on top, and then the steam kind of comes out from that. But it set on there, I think it was like 8 minutes or something. So at about
5 minutes from frozen.
Yeah. So we got like part way there, and it was like, you know what? This kind of looks like it's all like one big chunk. Because the fries, I guess, when they're frozen, when the fries stick together, well, they were kind of a big clump like that, even though they weren't stuck together when they went in, but they were kind of stuck together after.
Yep.
This is like a 2 liter. It only holds 2 liters of oil, so it's not a huge basket. So we just took some tongs and stuff and just kind of broke it up a little bit, just to and we took them out, and they were just like when you go to the fair, or you go to those places where they have their own deep fryers in the back, and they make their own fries. It was just like that. It was really awesome. Yeah, and
So is it? So I don't understand the air fryer. So is it actually deep frying then?
Oh, deep. Sorry. It's not an air fryer. It's a deep fryer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have an air fryer which works great, but
I think
we
you said air fryer from the beginning. I'm like, I'm confused with all this oil.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we got one of those Ninja air fryers,
Mm.
but this is a Tefal, um, yeah, deep
Now,
fryer.
do you get afterburn afterwards? Afterburn, not afterburn. What do you call that?
Heartburn
I call it afterburn.
or burn when the oil's splatting.
I call it afterburn because it happens after.
No, no, didn't get that. We used some fresh. I mean, avocado oil would have been better to use just because it's healthier. If you read up on, you know, all these other oils, vegetable oils and stuff, it's got nothing to do with vegetables, but it's, the way they process it and then it's rank and then they have to put, have to reheat it multiple times and add stuff to it. I don't know. It's not supposed to be good for you that much. But I figured, well, we're only going to do it once in a while. But they said avocado oil would work good, but it's like $20 a bottle for like 750
It's super
milliliters.
expensive.
So you're like $60 worth of oil just to But if it's healthier, that's fine. I got to kind of read up on that. There's different is it heat what they call it? You heat it up and it's safe to a certain degree.
Okay.
High temperature oils, I guess, or low flash point. I'm not sure how they
Because I don't know if you remember, we talked to Shane about this like 2 years ago. We talked about the right oils to use, and he was talking about the right oil to use on your barbecue grill.
Oh,
I think he said it was peanut oil. So what he was doing is he's got the peanut oil, and he cleans the grill first, and he never cleans the grill with an abrasive thing. He'd
right,
always clean it with something gentle, and then he would spread the oil all over the grill,
right.
and he would oil it every second use, I think, or third use.
You're like cast grill or
Yeah, on a cast grill, yeah. Yep.
not like the ceramic coated ones.
But I think with peanut oil, because I looked at like cooking like stir fries and stuff, and every oil has a different, not flash point is not the right word, but a point where the oil turns, and you don't want the oil to turn. So
It's good to a certain temperature. Yeah.
yeah, for olive oil, I think you're not supposed to be higher than medium low.
Oh, really?
Otherwise, it doesn't curdle, but it takes on properties that aren't healthy.
Yeah.
So on olive oil, you're supposed to cook at a lower heat, I believe, and then peanut oil,
Like burning
heat, it's high. It might be higher, I think. That's
Right.
why you use that on the grill.
Yeah, peanut oil's got a higher flash point or something or other.
Yeah, or whatever that word is, which we don't know what it is because we're not experts.
Oh, I'm sure I read it on the bottle when I was trying to figure out which one to use. I can't remember the term, but
So they actually have it on the bottle. I never even looked.
well, no, sorry. This is what I kind of put on the Googler there and and tried to figure out what type of oil to buy. So those are either peanut oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, avocado oil. They didn't mention anything about olive oil, but
Olive oil is really low, but olive oil's it's good.
really good for you. Yeah.
Like we actually the Portuguese thing is you will have a salad or you will have like green beans, for example. Green beans. But you boil the green beans and then you take your water out and then you put oil and a little bit of salt.
Yeah.
That's it. No butter, no nothing else, just oil, olive oil.
Yeah.
In Portugal, they have olive oil with everything. They have it in their salads. It's almost like a dip in some cases, I guess. It's like everywhere because it's so readily available, right?
Yeah, it's really good for you.
Yeah.
So what was the one that you used to dip in? Was it like it was like a vinegar and oil?
Vinegar and oil for salad.
Yeah.
But you got to get the proportions just right because they don't. When you see the vinegar in the oil, like you see like
they separate.
Bubbles. Yeah, they separate. Yeah. But that's my favorite salad dressing, honestly. Just super simple.
Sweet.
All right. Well, something happened.
Oh.
Well, I came back from Gimli, by the way.
Gimli?
Yesterday, yeah. Last night.
Different area.
Yeah. I was going to post. So this is one of those things. like a lot of people will post on their social media, "Hey, I'm in Gimli." And then there's some people that are trolling on social media going, "Oh, well, let's see if we can find out what their address is." Not in Gimli, but with their home address. We know they're not home.
Oh yeah.
So you always got to be careful when you're posting. So I never post anything until I'm back.
Yeah, from a trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just post when you're back. Otherwise, like, yeah, guess who's not home?
But Gimli was cool. And guess who I ran into?
Uh Kim.
No, I almost, you know what? Oh, damn it. I should have messaged him. We were only there for like 2 days. So it was like, it was tight.
Right.
But I ran into Ronald George Moore.
Really?
He was up there to see a play. There was a play
Right.
playing there that weekend. And it's the play that Mark's wife, Catherine, is in.
Oh, cool.
Like small world sort of thing.
Wow.
But they went up for that to see a matinee. And I, of course, like I sent him a message with a picture of my Robin's donuts in my hand.
Right.
I had some donuts and I had some coffee. And of course, they said, "Guess where I am?" And he got all excited. He goes, "I don't know if I recognize the." He tried to sleuth where I was, and then I told him, he goes, "Oh my God, you're at the best Robins in Manitoba." I said, "Yes, I am."
In Gimli.
In Gimli, it's the best one. Apparently, the one in the Paw or Thompson is might be better, maybe,
Wow.
but anyway. So he said, "Oh my God, I'm going to be there tomorrow morning." So we met up for coffee, and I met his wife, Carolyn Gray.
Cool.
Yeah,
I thought I saw a picture of him with a group of people, but you weren't one of them. But this was last week. This wasn't on the weekend, so.
well, maybe he's been doing some stand up, I think, some improv, I think recently ish. It was
Oh,
recent.
really?
Yeah. He's a stand up comedian, right? That's his main thing.
Cool.
And improv. He ended up at the D&D improv show. Played an orc or a goblin or something, apparently.
Oh,
Yeah. But anyway, so I was up there. It was good to get refresh my batteries. But I was on, in between things. I was hopping on social media, and I've been on Threads a bit more lately.
Threads.
Yeah, it's like it's part of Instagram, but it's like on Instagram, it's all about posting pictures, right? And Threads is about being more like Twitter. You can post pictures, but it's more about just like talking, like little messages and stuff.
Oh,
So I've been on there promoting our show on there as
oh,
much as
cool.
I can. But something popped up. There's a few things that popped up, and one of them, like someone, like sometimes like, "Hey, podcasters of Threads," they're asking a question, they're looking for feedback.
Right.
Like what's the best microphone to use, um, or which host are you using, or
Right.
you believe, is a YouTube podcast really a podcast? Just things like that, right? So there's quite a few that I saw over the last couple of days. And then there was multiple that popped up. And I'm like, so what I do, like sometimes I just post just to, get our name out there, right? I'll just provide an answer, say, well, what we do on our show is blah, 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 blah. But there was a lot this weekend that kept popping up on my thread, like
Right.
my news feed. They call it a thread. And it was these different types of podcasts that are like there's a lot of motivational and well-being, and how to
Right.
recover from trauma and like a lot of stuff like that, which I mean, those are great podcasts, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a bunch of like, I don't know what to call them. Not some of them are like financial, but they're providing advice, but it's not like,
Now, is it providing advice with, oh, and if you want to sign up for our whatever,
yes,
yeah,
that's exactly what it is.
send us money. You're not a
I
podcast. You're an advertisement agency.
I was not happy about that. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. Like I gotta be careful how I say this, because there's a few podcasts out there. There's one I listen to. It's called the 1 Minute Podcast. Every episode's a minute, and they offer podcast advice, free podcast advice.
Right.
Simple. It's one
Okay.
of the guys that works. He works for Captivate, which is who hosts our podcast, and that's great. Like providing tips and tricks and things to do. Great. Um, it's free.
Right.
Great. But you can subscribe and you can get some, more in-depth stuff like on
Mhm.
Patreon, which is fine. Like we have a Patreon too, right? Nothing too crazy there. But these ones are all, it seems like it's all infomercials. The podcast is nothing but an infomercial to buy their stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you
It,
want, it's not if you want to know more. If you want to know anything, you can pay us 24.95 a month, and we'll show you how to increase your Instagram, how to get more viewers, blah blah blah, blah, like all those sorts of things. So they're a lot of these podcasts are not real podcasts. They're just infomercials for what they're selling.
yeah. Well, they're taking every platform possible, and including the podcast community.
But I don't feel that's a podcast. To call it a podcast to me is disingenuous.
Well, I mean, it's not, but they're there for a reason. They're not there for
Yeah.
and a financial reason too. So
So there was like multiple of these popping up, and some of the things they were saying, I'm like, man, I don't know. Like one was saying, um, and this was not one of these podcasts, but it was someone. Oh no, someone had a podcast, and it was just one of those types of podcasts. And then they said, when you're listening to a new podcast, how long do you give it before you give up on it? Or how long do you give it before you decide it's not for you? And he said, generally for me, it's 10 minutes. And I'm like, wow, 10 minutes, right? You're going to give something 10 minutes before you decide if it's good or not?
well, I mean, yeah, and it's no different than watching an episode of a show. I mean, every show is going to be different. It's not like you can listen to it once and go, "Oh, this is an interesting topic," but the one that I listened to before wasn't. Like, it's all different. You can kind of go. I mean, you don't have to go from beginning to end either. You can just kind of look at what the
Yeah.
actual synopsis of the discussion is going to be and see if you're interested.
And a synopsis of an episode doesn't give you the flavor of the show. Like for ours, our show is really hard to define, right? Like, what's it about? Well, you've said it's a show about nothing, or it's a show about conversation. Like, and like I always have a hard time telling people what our show is about. I said, well, what's your topic? What do you mean? What's topic singular? Because I'm promoting the show online, and people are like, well, what's your show about? And I say, well, we have different topics every week, and we cover stuff from entertainment to video games to um, we've had COVID stuff, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, but what's your show about? It's like, well, I just listed like the types of topics we have. Like, does it have to be about one thing?
Well, it's no different than you watch the late night with whoever Letterman or all these other guys. What's the show about? Well, it depends on who the guest is. It depends on the topic. It depends.
Yeah.
It's not a one thing. Like you could call yourself the non-pigeonholed podcast, where
Like that.
it's not just one discussion. We're having multiple discussions, or we could, like you said, take a left at Albuquerque at some point where we start talking about animals, and then all of a sudden we're talking about planes. Like it's just the normal progression. Like an idea pops in your head, and you just start talking about it. Kind of the same thing as we're talking about. Like if we're with a group of people on a Friday night or something, just with a bunch of friends gabbing about whatever. It's
That's
never
interesting.
it's
Yeah.
never one topic all the time. It's like one topic, all of a sudden someone else brings something else. Okay, now another topic comes in. But instead of being active in the conversation, you're more of a listener in the background, which is what I remember when I was younger, listening to family when they were together and they're talking. You're just kind of in the background, listening to it almost subliminally because you're usually doing something else. But that's it kind of reminds you of back when you're younger. If that was the type of environment that you grew up in,
Mm-hmm.
then that's kind of what it kind of triggers. It's a positive trigger, I guess.
I like that, Todd. And maybe I'm going to use that in some of my replies. It's like, okay, when you talk to your spouse,
Right.
and your spouse starts to, like, it's Friday night and you're on a date with your spouse and you're going out for dinner, and you tell your spouse, okay, tonight we're only talking about the I don't know, these teams, Los Angeles Rams. That's all we're going to talk about. We can't talk about anything else. Your wife would say, you're out of your fucking mind.
Who?
Well, yeah. I mean, unless they're, a football or sports ball fan, whatever
Yeah.
sport that is.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, like, well, we're a murder podcast. We talk about murders. Okay.
Well, that's a
all, like, is that
topic.
all you're interested in? Like,
But it may not, but it won't be the murder of one murder. I mean, if you watch
yeah,
Investigate Discovery or any of those channels on TV, I mean, sure, it's all about crime. It's not always the same crime. It's not always about a stabbing or a kidnapping, or it's just a schmozzle. That's just kind of like the umbrella.
yeah.
But like you said, like if you go to your dinner date and you're talking about something that the other person's not interested in at all, I mean, that doesn't really help
But then you
much.
can change topics, right?
Oh yeah, you could
Have
definitely.
the option of, like, you know what? We already locked into the Los Angeles Rams. Like, I'm sorry, like 10 minutes in, you say, I'm going to leave this date because we agreed to talk about a topic on our date. Or like we can talk about like Conan O'Brien or Late Night or like one of those people. Well, we only interview actors that have been on Lost. Like, come on. Like, that's too limiting. Like, yeah, there's a place for very specific content, and that's fine. But to think that a podcast has to have like a single focus, like, why? Why? I mean, if you do it, that's great. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but
The
don't
theme. There's
don't disparage us because we have more than one interest. I don't know, like, it just seems odd. It's like, and we do conversation. We do conversation. Conversation is never about only ever one thing. I don't know. It just seems, and like, I've heard, well, you should have more focus. Like some of these people on here who've never heard our show. Well, you should have more focus.
well,
Why?
it's whatever you want it to be and whatever it is you want to do. But hey, if you want to go down the road of saying, you know what, our goal, like the 1 year goal, 3 year goal, or whatever, I want to be independent. I want to be able to make enough money to not have to work and just do like if that's what you want to do, then you would have to go to a whole different route.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then some of them are the ones that you talked about where all they're doing is they're selling something.
Yeah.
But you have that option if you want to do that.
And truth being told, we are selling Patreon. That's the thing we're trying to sell.
But that's not the focus though.
That's not the focus of our show.
Some of them are just focusing on the selling portion. That's it.
Yeah.
Just because they've run out of platforms. I mean, they
Yeah.
do it on X, they'll do it on Instagram, and whatever. There's YouTube now. Just podcasting. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
I could get into the whole, oh, we have a podcast now. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, like the radio station now releases their stuff as a podcast. Well, that's just your morning show. And now you're releasing it on your website. You're calling it a podcast. But I thought you called it a morning show. But now you're, oh, well, because we created the MP3 and we put it up on our website, it's now a podcast. No, it's not. You like reappropriating something else and calling it something else, like reappropriating something and calling it something else when it was originally presented. Like that's just like Pipere recording the wrestling,
Yeah.
on his cassette recorder, posting it online and calling it a podcast. Like, that's not what that is. I mean, if he was doing commentary and talking about it and talking about the angle of the match or the moves that were like, okay, well, then now you've changed what you did. But to just that's one thing that bugs me. And it's like, oh, the top podcasts in Manitoba, Virgin 103, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not a number one podcast. You can't, I feel like you can't.
Where's the algorithm? Where are they grabbing these stats from? Number one from what? Downloads, listeners? Like, how do you know? Like, is this one of those things where, well, it used to be, what did they call it? They had a thing on your set-top box and it showed all the programs that you were watching.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Are they doing the same thing with say this, for example. Mind you, with AI and the way technology is, you could filter out. I'm sure you could find out somehow.
I think we're becoming podcast snobs.
Are we?
I am. Okay, so this was not the actual topic. So the actual topic. So,
Okay.
but this is to get it to warm us up for it. This, so this came up a few weeks ago, and I think I brought it up where someone was shocked, and this is a continuation of when I brought this up before. Someone was shocked when they asked someone to be on the show as a guest, and they sent them an invoice. This is what I'm going to charge you to be on my show. All right, this is
Oh,
what I'm going to charge you for me to be on your show. And she was like stunned. Okay, so there's more. So now,
was that
because I
answering?
looked at that post on Threads, now
Right.
I'm getting more shit like that, right? So
Okay.
this is what came up today, and I didn't comment because I'm like, I want to talk to Todd about this first before I comment. But the lady said, "Can someone please stop this?" I was asked, I was asked to come on someone's show, and they sent me an email with a with a thing to fill out, with a questionnaire to fill out before coming on their show.
Okay.
And I'm looking through here, and it's it's asking me who I am and what I do. And then there's a part of, what are your favorite episodes of my podcast? And she was offended.
Yeah. Wow.
And I'm like, offended? And
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
well, I mean, is now I think I know where you're going, but I mean,
I know
who
you know what I'm
says who says that this person has ever heard of this podcast before, let alone listen to any episodes? I'm going to go on your show, and you want to know what my favorite episodes are? I don't know. I've agreed to go into your podcast. Why do I have to fill out all this information? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
basically what they're saying. You asked me on your show. I don't have any responsibility towards you, which I understand. I understand in perspective. People
Right.
get asked to do interviews all the time, right?
Right.
Now I'll insert something in here at this moment, but um in post edit. But
Okay.
so Robert Downey Jr. was interviewed several years ago by this interviewer. I remember he had a British accent. I can't remember what his name was, but it'll be in the clip that just played.
Okay.
And basically, when Robert Downey Jr. is doing a Marvel movie, or any actor is doing a Marvel, they are being told by their publicist, by the studio, you need to do this interview, you need to do that interview, you're scheduled at 9 a.m. for this one, and they're all like quick, pop, pop, pop. It's a 5-minute interview. They're going to ask you 6 questions. Here's what the questions are going to be. You almost rehearse. It's all about sound bites, right? So he did one interview with
Through
this
his,
guy. What's that?
this is all through his agent, right? This isn't someone just randomly cold calling somebody
No,
saying,
no,
"Oh,
no, 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 no.
interview."
Well, they
Right.
cold called his agent,
Right. Okay.
right? Like, that's how those things happen. Like, the producer for the studio, sorry, the producer for the news channel or whatever contacts the agent of Robert Downey Jr., says, we want to do an interview. They work out a schedule, and then he shows up, and the interviewer shows up, and the actor shows up, and the interview happens. Something like that. I'm not in that world, but I'm assuming it happens something like that. So anyway, so the interviews, it's, you haven't heard the clip, but he starts asking Robert Downey Jr. some very uncomfortable questions.
Hmm.
And he says, more or less, like, I'm not going to answer that, or pass. And then the interviewer, completely ignoring what he said, doubles down and pushes the question again. It's about his past drug use and his time in jail and all that stuff. And then the interviewer pushes again, and he basically says, like, are we promoting Iron Man, or are we just,
Yeah.
looking for dirt here? Like, what, like, can we go back to the interview, please? Is what he asked the interviewer.
Right.
He just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. And eventually he just walked out.
I imagine.
Like, it's stupid. And so my point I want to make is that Robert Downey now vets who's going to interview him.
I don't blame him.
And I don't blame them. Yeah, like what gives you the right to attack someone ever? Like what, what do you have a card uh in your wallet that says I'm allowed to offend, I have a permit to offend people and I'm just going to go offend people. I'm a professional interviewer, but I've got a permit that says I can ask questions that they don't want to answer and make them feel uncomfortable.
It's all shock and awe, right?
Right. Yeah. It's like shock jocks of the day, right? Like,
Yeah, like if he came on our podcast, we'd just be shooting the shit with him, right?
of course we would.
We wouldn't bring up and anyone
His
else that
past
we've
is in the
had.
past. Why would we need to bring that up? Unless,
Yeah,
this performance you did, in this movie or whatever. Like, can we just go back to that? I just really want to talk about it because I'm a fan. And then you could say, well, you know what, that's in the past. Can we just talk about, and that's fine. Like that's what you do. Like if someone doesn't want to talk about something, if they don't want to talk about something, you don't talk about it.
right.
Like it's just professional courtesy.
And anybody we've had on, whether there's stuff in the background that, in whatever they do that's either, kind of the shock value, like if you really wanted to do it, you could do that. But it's like, why? That's not what we're here for. We're here to shoot the shit. We're here to talk to you guys. We don't want, like for me, if I watch something where it's like that, I get just as stressed out
Oh yeah.
to
Yeah.
say he is, because now I'm feeling uncomfortable and I feel like I want to be under a chair, right? Like if I was in a room with a
Yeah.
bunch of people and all this stuff's going on, it's like, oh geez, I don't want to be here. Like what is
Yeah.
this? Why is,
Why is that
I don't
entertaining?
I didn't come here to get all stressed out. I just want to, talk about a topic and be done with it. I mean, a lot of people are into that, which is fine. Everybody's different, but that's not my cup of tea.
No,
That's not,
I did
that's a
totally dislike that. Yeah, agree. So what I'm circling around to is if someone is asking you to be on their podcast and they're asking these sorts of questions, it's an indicator when someone says, "What are your favorite episodes of our show?" I think that's probably a standard form that they have, which I don't agree. I will ask the question, "Have you listened to our show before?" I do ask that. But I don't have a questionnaire. I never do a questionnaire. I just chat with them over Messenger or something and just say, hey, just so you know, here's some episodes to kind of maybe give you a flavor
yeah, if they want to
of what
listen.
we do.
Yeah.
I just do it that way. I'm not like super answer A, B, C, D, and E and sub question F for, like, so anyway, so my response, I couldn't formulate a response. So you're actually giving me some good stuff here. But my thought is if you're going to be on someone's show, I know you're promoting that you have a lifestyle product you're selling. It's about, being better for yourself and recovering from trauma or how to quit smoking or how to be a fitter and better you or whatever. Like you have a business plan, what you do, and and your thought is you want to be on as much media as possible to promote what you're selling. But you can't just do that and do every single appearance you're asked to do. I think that's the wrong thing. My thought is, and this is like we've guested on other people's shows, right? Multiple
Yeah.
times. But I've personally always vetted the show. Okay. I don't know this show. They've asked us to be on their show. They said they're a fan of our show. They want to have us on. Okay. What is this show? I don't know this show. So what I always do is I go and I listen to 2 to 3 episodes of their show before an appearance, or when we have a guest on. We've been asked to have guests on our show. Well, we've had some writers that I'd never read their work before. I go and read the book because maybe they wrote a book that is anti-Semitic, or maybe they've wrote a book that is complete misogynistic book. They hate women, or if we have an artist on and they wrote songs that are about, I don't know, beating animals or something. Like you got to vet the music or the artist like we do, like I do. But if you're going to be on someone else's show, you don't want to be like, just say you're an LGBTQ plus person
Mhm.
and someone asks you to be on their show. They don't ask you why. They ask you to be on their show. Hey, you've got a good social media presence. We'd like to have you on our show to have a chat. And you just say yes. You don't vet their show, but their show is an anti-LGBTQ plus show. It is a Christian fundamentalist show, and they promote not they don't promote same-sex marriage, or they don't promote what, like, they're not a good show to be on, but you agree to be on the show because you haven't vetted them.
Right.
Well, but I'm going to be able to promote my LGBTQ plus stuff. Like I want to promote, equality and and all this sort of stuff, right? And that's your format. Like that's this thing you're always pushing. We want to be on as many shows as possible to push what we're doing, but you don't want to be on a show that's anti,
No.
because you're just going to get attacked the whole time. Like when someone says, "What are your favorite episodes?" Your answer could be, "I haven't listened to the show yet, but I'm going to check it out." I will. Don't just agree to be on someone's show if you don't know what the show is about. Like, like it doesn't make sense to me. Like why you wouldn't, like, yeah, but because I know the attitude is we're promoting our stuff. We need to get the word out about the thing we're selling. We need everybody to hear about us. Like I don't want to, like if we're promoting Dome, for example, I don't want to be, I don't want to go on some show that's you know, like at some
Country music.
well, sure, like
Let's promote Dome on the country music channel.
oh, I thought you were the country band called Dome. I didn't realize you were, like just like do like I know you don't like homework, Todd, and I do the homework for us. So when I'm vetting shows for us to be on, or people aren't, like I'm always vetting these artists
Right.
and musicians and whatever. Like I'm always vetting because I don't want to have a dirt bag on the show.
Yeah.
Like, and like, oh great, well this is uncomfortable because it reflects on our brand if we have someone on the show that we shouldn't have on the show. So anyway,
Interesting. And this is all from this strands thing you're talking about.
threads.
Or threads.
Yeah. So
Strand.
she kind of got, like, this lady kind of got on her high horse about like I don't need to vet. You asked me on your show. I don't have any responsibility to know what your show is about. I'm coming on to promote my stuff. But I always, like, you should get to know whoever's interviewing, you should get to know who they are beforehand.
So does this person seem to be like a difficult person? Is that why this person's posting in this manner?
Well, I went through their threads, and I went through several of the posts they put on their on threads, and a lot of stuff was confrontational.
Okay, so there's a theme there.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm unhappy because I'm going to let the whole world know about it.
Me. Yeah. Okay, I got you.
So I thought about engaging, but Threads isn't really, they're trying to promote themselves as being like the anti-Twitter, where it's not like I'm going to post something and everyone's going to disagree with it. Like they're trying to not be that place. They're trying to be the place where, everybody gets along. And if someone's promoting something, if you got something nice to say, go ahead, say it. If you got something bad to say, just move on.
Yeah.
I'll try to be more positive, which is why I'm kind of enjoying it. But I think that's the whole idea, right? Like why?
Yeah, you'd have to have moderators on there. Like whoever actually runs this thing would have to,
Yeah.
If they truly want something that's a positive experience, they would have to go through and go, you know what? Not allowed. Just if you can't say something nice, don't bother posting type thing.
Yeah. Because there's occasionally there's people going, okay, I'm struggling with my Spotify for podcasters. If they're using Spotify to create their podcast and put it out there, right? And they're struggling with making it work. What's that?
No, and then someone comes out, oh, you're using that shit.
Exactly.
Everybody's got an opinion. So why you should be using this or using that. And who knows, this and that is probably owned by them.
Yeah.
They're trying to gaslight everybody and say, that's crap. Use this here.
Yeah.
from me, but I'm not telling you that. I'm just kind of undercover here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That stuff's just kind of.
But I mean, if it's a small thing, it's fine. But once it gets, once it gets huge, it's like, how many moderators do you need? And how much income is coming in? And how much, that's a lot of, it's not just a little group. When you used to go to the forums and stuff, they'd have a forum for everything. This is kind of an open forum where you don't have to um, go to any specific topic. It's just the forum itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just just a huge pile that you have to kind of go through.
But I'm enjoying it so far. Some people are saying like the algorithm's broken or whatever, and it's like, well, I posted something and nobody saw it. It's like, well, doesn't matter what social media platform you go on. That's typical.
Right.
It's all about hashtagging properly to get people to see it. So, but anyway, all right. That was my. So I don't think I'm going to engage with this person at all because there's no point.
No,
I
just like
wanted to say it in a positive way, like
it's like dealing with narcissistic people. I mean, at some point, it's like, you know what? I'm not going to even engage because that's all they want.
yeah,
They can't feed. It's like bullies. They're feeding on your response. Well, you don't give a response, you don't react. It just kind of disarms them, and then they just try and attack you more, and you just whatever,
yeah,
buddy.
yeah. They're just looking for a fight.
Yeah, but some people like to debate. Just that's just their nature. They just like to debate for the reason of debating, and it's fine if that's what you like. Then you go with like said people that like the same thing.
Yeah,
Fill your boots.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got. I
Okay.
gotta go do some groceries now.
All right.
We got 45 minutes of material.
Sweet.
Yep.
All right. And we're doing one on Tuesday.
It's
Or
not
no.
this week. I think it's the week after.
Oh, it's next week.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Monday is the Jen and Chen release,
Right.
and then it's our week off. But I'm
Cool.
like, but that's a single episode, so this will be a single episode to fill in the gap.
Cool.
Yep. All right.
Cool. All right, sir.
Okay. Thank you for doing this, and yeah, that's it.
Talk to you later.